Bam! What's up, everybody? Back again on a Tuesday. Good to see you guys. Missed everybody. Hope everybody had a wonderful weekend. The market went a little wild yesterday, didn't it? Not really wild. Threw a nice, good-sized candle for us. Luckily, we were prepared for this already. Kind of seems like we already knew this was coming. No big deal. Just noticed my lights are still not on in the background. You want to talk about something that's frustrating is when you set up everything before you get ready. And nothing comes on until you get ready to actually do it. All right, whatever. Anyway, got some cool information for you tonight. I had my first real world encounter with Fibonacci lines and Fibonacci numbers, the sequence in general and how things work and how it applies to real world life and how you can use this data everywhere. So without further ado, let's get into that, shall we? And we shall. Good to see everybody. If you haven't done so yet, why the hell is the camera not on? There we go. If you haven't done so yet, please go hit like. They're free here. They cost nothing. Hit the subscribe and the notification bell while you're here. The more likes, subs, and notifications, alerts we get, the better. YouTube pushes us on up the top of the algorithm chain there. More people will watch. More people can learn. More people can become interested in what we do. It's very simple and straightforward here, okay? We don't do bullshit. 100% technical analysis. 100% educational stuff that can help you get a little bit better at what you already know. Or if you don't know, even better. We can do it from the elementary point of view here. If anybody has questions, right over there's a chat box. Put them on in there and we can talk about it, right? We don't know what you don't know until you tell us, okay? Had a bunch of private consults this month. A lot of people are interested in learning, which super makes me happy, all right? I love the fact that people are willing to engage and willing to take it upon themselves to take the time to learn. It's excellent. I love seeing it. It makes me super happy. All right, so first things first, let's talk about the market real quick, okay? Yesterday, CPI numbers came out, and I say yesterday because it's 11 p.m., right? CPI numbers come out. Essentially, they said we have about 7%, 7.1% inflation. 7.1%. And this was bullish. I feel like that's worth a laugh. 7% inflation is nuts. The goal is 2%. 2%. 7%. That is not bullish, folks. Now, people perceive it as bullish because it's not 7.3 anymore, right? Like that's so much better. The idea here is that the government raising interest rates, raising the amount of money that they make on loans, increases the amount of money flow, decreases the price of things, and raises the stakes and lowers the inflation. Now, there's people who get punished by this, which is the lower and middle class, all right? Typically, they're the ones that have the least access to money to begin with. And now you're making it more difficult for those rates that they want and they need, those lower rates that they want and they need. It's harder for them to get now, okay? They can't get them as much. So you're kind of putting the burden on them to, even if they can't flip the bill, still flip the bill, all right? That's the problem here. The Fed has already said they're going to continue to raise basis points until it gets down to 2%. We are nowhere near 2%, folks. Sorry. A rate increase and a rate increase and a rate increase is not bullish. It feels good for the moment, right? Because they lowered the amount, right? It wasn't 0.75% anymore. Now it's only 0.5% or 50 basis points. Point is, we kind of saw this coming. We already expected a back test of resistance, and that's what I'll show you now. All right, I've got this pulled up for you already right here. I've got a fib on it. Very simply, two resistance lines here. We've already pushed through the lower line, so I can erase it now. I don't think it mattered that much anyway. It was only one wick that was really down here to hold this. That was the low. Essentially, it swept that low now, that former low, which was a high now because we're under it. So this low got swept. All right, high got swept. However you want to say it, doesn't really matter. And typically, when we talk about a low getting swept, it's because you come down here and you clean out some wicks that may be sticking up back here. Okay. And clean those out. That's called sweeping the lows. This is actually sweeping the highs because you have these wicks that are hanging down, right? And we've come up and we've kind of swept those wicks. Good. So we haven't quite gotten to the real meat of resistance yet, which is up here where this red line is. All right, here you go. Right in through here at about 18.5 or 18 flat, really. You get a nice flat number of 18. That floor right there, that level of resistance hasn't been breached, hasn't even been touched yet. Now, likely tomorrow when the numbers come out, the Federal Open Market Committee numbers come out, and they only raised up interest rates another 0.5%. When that happens, someone's going to perceive that as bullish, right? They're going to perceive that the bottom of the market is in, blah, blah, blah. It's my belief that we're not down there yet. In fact, it's my belief that the opposite. We got more down to go, at least one more big hard push. And the equities market today started off screaming high and retraced all the way back to where it started today, which was really wild to watch, really interesting to watch. Me and a couple other guys in the Discord were talking about it. The Tesla opened up way high, Meta way high, Google way high, S&P 500 over the trend line. By the end of the day, back under, right? Opened a big gap, had a huge gap, and closed that gap in one day. All right. Is that bullish? Maybe, maybe not, but it retraced all the way back to where it started. Hasn't really made any progress since. Bitcoin's similar here. Even though this move happened and you see that nice green candle underneath the red box right there, we're still stuck under resistance. Now, the interesting thing is when you start looking for confluence around these levels to find, should this level matter? Shouldn't this level matter? It's my belief we got some more short-term up here, which is just going to dig into resistance some more. It's kind of necessary in my opinion. There are a couple options. I'm going to show you those now. You start here at the top, and you pull down to the bottom for your Fibonacci retracement. Now, where's the trend here? We're not exactly sure. I could say that it's way back here, but this fib set would already be broken, and I don't think that's accurate. So I think this is more of a high time frame move. And it appears as though this matters as this trend line right here is still holding, doing well. We have a short-term uptrend, all right? 50 fib is right there at about 18,250. We talked about that before. Above the 50 fib, right there at the bottom of resistance, 18.5. So 18,250 to 18.5 simply makes sense. All right. We know that Bitcoin particularly cares for the golden pocket, which is all the way up here near 19,000. Now that would be a good dig into resistance, wouldn't it? That would be a good dig. And if you're looking for a fair value gap, a lot of people talk about ICT, which is Inner Circle Trader, right? A lot of that stuff comes from Larry Williams. Larry Williams talks about this stuff, and you could really just get it from the horse's mouth if you looked up Larry Williams about it. You have here naked candles. A lot of naked candles. Now you could argue about, and when I mean naked candles, I mean that price action hasn't retraced and covered all of this downward movement yet. Now it doesn't always cover it. As you see here, didn't cover it all, did it? In fact, we go back and look at historically what this did last time, real quick. You see we did about a 50 or a 618 retrace. Come back down to where we're at now. Similar situation. Not quite a 50, not quite a 618 retrace. So, again, I expect this thing to dig into resistance a little bit here. That being said, where is the fair value gap? Well, fair value gap would be a retracement level. Those retracement levels are either up or down, and on the back side of these naked candles, okay? So, where? Well, you go between there, where you're at now, and the previous move baseline. Previous move baseline is right about here, where those candles were. I'm going to zoom in here so you can see better. I realize I don't always have this zoomed in the biggest. And again, it's a compare contrast thing for my eyes because I have these big, huge screens in here. So right about back to here is the level of the previous candles, right? The previous price action before the big fall. From here, we have a level here. And all the way back to where we are right now, the last wick, which was right here. So all of this in here is a fair value gap. Somewhere in here, we're going to pull back to. Now, again, we've already kind of showed you the levels where I think we'll actually pull back to, which was that 618 level max, which is about 19,000. Could you argue 20,000? Yes, you could. You could argue 20,000 because that level was an important level previously. In the previous slow move, just all this trash over here, this slow move over here really bounced hard around 20,000 and really, really, really didn't like it and failed miserably when it got to the trend line. There's a possibility this thing just jogs to the trend line and waits for the end of the year close. Because if you haven't looked at the yearly chart, Oh my God, it looks awful. Pull up the Bitcoin yearly chart when you get a minute. Look at that. It's gnarly looking. All right. So there again, I kind of expect this to retrace more. Now, let me go say hey to everyone because I haven't done that yet. What's up, Jeremy? Good to see you. Frank, good to see you. Rugsy, Anon, Lunatic Prophet, Danny Deep Pockets, Jimmy Monroe. What's up, brother? Good to see you. He's not even drunk yet. Can you pull the fib on Monroe stash? I don't have a fib set that big or strong, brother. Electric Ken, good to see you, brother. Tom Paz Durka. What's up, Heath? Good to see you. Justin Gabriel, Nate S. Big Tex. What's up, Big Tex? All right. Let's look at total market cap because it's slightly different than Bitcoin itself. In fact, you'll see an interesting difference. I'll pull up total market cap now. Total market cap has already tagged this lower resistance, isn't short of it like Bitcoin was. If you notice, the Bitcoin chart hadn't quite pushed up to its resistance line yet. This one here butted right up against it. So do the same thing. Same previous run, right about same level. So all this looks the same, only this fair value gap's a little higher. All this in here, fair value gap, right? And if we pull our fib the same way, come up with the same exact answer. She's short of the 50 fib at about 866 billion. Past that, 900 billion. I don't think we get to a trillion. That's way up there. I really don't think we do. Trend line's in the way, multiple trash in the way, there's moving averages in the way. It's going to be slow going here at best, and I believe it's probably going to soak up the momentum as it makes this move up. This move up will eventually fail, in my opinion. Just got to give it some time. It's on a little run right now. Let it do its thing, right? I'll give it its space. Give it its space. I don't think the short-term up's done yet. You're probably going to have a move on the bullish news tomorrow, but we can already see that coming. Like I said, so we already know what's going to happen. In fact, today we were watching this move on the CPI stuff, and about 15 to 30 minutes before the news actually fell, the chart went up. So it didn't move on the news. It moved before the news. Slightly before, but before. In fact, the numbers came out, and it already moved and made its move. It only moved a little bit past that afterwards. Most of the move happened pre-news, almost as if they knew what was going to happen, right? So, it's again why I don't bother with the news. Oh, awesome, dude. Freaking congratulations, bro. Let's go. Brand new baby. Let's go. A baby boy. What you gonna name him? Keith? There's 0% chance you name him Keith. Your family would literally murder you. Congratulations, brother. That's awesome. Children are a gift from God, brother. Don't ever forget that. No matter how hard it gets or how stressful it gets, your legacy continues with those underneath you, right? It's amazing. It's an amazing time. Every day is stressful, and every day you smile when they look back at you and you are their idol. So, yeah, fatherhood's wild, man. Fatherhood keeps you grounded too. It's a brother. It's a wild trip. All right, so let's talk a bit. So it's about half over already. So check this out. All right, so to give you the backstory here, girlfriend comes home, fiance comes home. She's like, all right, look, I got these numbers I wanted to show you. I'm like, what are you talking about? She says, well, you do data analysis, right? And I'm like, yeah, whatever. So she hands me some numbers, and I'm like, well, what are these? And I'll pull them up here so you can see them. I'll keep them kind of off screen so you can't see it, but damn, that's bright. Hang on, let me find it real quick. Where is my downloads? I think this is it. Yeah, there we go. All right, I'll pull up the screen so you can see it here. Right here, it says basic charts. It's a pie chart that shows you student growth over a certain period of time, right? The upper pie chart shows you one thing, and the lower pie chart shows you another, right? The upper one was the beginning, and the lower pie chart was where she's at now. So she gives me this data, and she goes, Keith, look at these numbers and tell me what you think. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? She's like, no, I need you to understand. I need you to study it for a second and see what you think. So I noticed something really quickly by looking at the numbers, and I've made a Google Sheets to kind of explain it via a pie chart, right? Because eventually, like as soon as I saw it, it like jumped out at me. I'm like, whoa, right? Okay, let's pull it up now so you can see it here. Let me make this a little larger. This one on the left here is the pre-first of the year assessment, right? First of the year assessment on these kids. How well have they done? How poor have they done, right? I'll zoom in here so you can see it a bit better. That's 125%. Let's do 150. All right. 26 kids at or above grade level. 21 kids, 1 grade below, which sounds bad, I know. 14 kids, 2 grades below, and 1 that hadn't even completed their test yet for various different reasons. That's the beginning of the year. So 26 out of all those kids were at or above grade level. Think about that for a moment. The next time you complain about teachers, right? The next time you fuss and say, oh, the teacher doesn't care, the teacher doesn't try. This is what they work with when they walk in on day one, right? Now, we scroll over a bit, we see the other pie chart. This is where she's at today, about halfway through everything, right? Halfway through everything, 36 kids at or above reading level, which is a positive 10. Now, there's still 21 at 1 grade level below, which is flat on the percentages. However, 4 2 grades below, where over here we were 14 2 grades below. So, looking at the numbers here, 39% increase from at or above, and a 74% increase for 2 grades or below. That's a 56% growth rate. So as soon as I saw this, I went, 56% growth rate. And my mind immediately went to Fibonacci retracement. And I said, well, that means you're over the 50. Like I caught myself. I said, well, that means you're over the 50 fib. Like, I don't even know why I said it. It came out. I said, well, that means you're over the 50 fib. And she's like, what is that? I was like, okay. Without trying to explain that to you, here's some important numbers. 50, 61, 68, 78, 76. I said 76, 78, 80, 80, 86, right? I said 50, 61, 68, 78, 86. Those numbers are key. And she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. So I said, give me a minute. Let me do some math. So then I went a little deeper, right? I realized, okay, she's got roughly a 56% growth rate at the moment. If she can do some things here, right? If she can take 7 more kids from the yellow and move them up, that'll be plus 1 kid from the red into yellow. So 7 from yellow to green on to grade level, and just one more from red to yellow. That's a 63% rate of growth. Now, what did I just talk to you about with Bitcoin? I said Bitcoin prefers the 61% level. So she's at a 61% growth rate, Fibonacci-wise, right? I thought, well, that's cool. How much farther can we take this? So I kept playing with the numbers a little bit to try to get a gross estimate on what could come out and how many students would it take to get to what level, to give her some sort of a goal, right? Because, of course, the goal is to get every kid of that. But let's be realistic. You can't get everything to be perfect ever, right? So you have to play with these numbers and get them to a realistic number, right? So I dug in a little deeper. This one. So if she gets 12 to move up from the yellow instead of 7, and that one moves up from red to yellow, that would be a 75% growth rate. 75% is just short of 786. So she would be just about to Sniper's Alley as far as growth rate, like starting to ping out pretty darn high. Now, obviously, the goals are 100%, but realistically speaking, that's going to be tough, right? Is it ever tough? It's always tough to get anything to be 100%. What clued me in on all this was the craziness of it. Like, I didn't catch myself doing this at first until I thought about it for a second. I'm like, I'm applying this. So I already knew things like traffic lights, the size of a boat hull, the tread wear pattern on a tire are all based on Fibonacci numbers. Not based. They use Fibonacci numbers to help estimate more carefully tire wear size, boat deflection, traffic signal timing, right? Because it's a sequence of numbers that is a mathematical certainty. By using this, I can tell her, this is how many more kids you got to get moved up. If you can get this many kids moved up, you'll have grown this much, right? And for her, she looks at it and goes, oh God, I don't know if I can do that. And I was like, well, if you do, that's topping out. Anything more than that is a breakout. And I said, in fact, you've about broken out on your reds. You know, you had 14 and you're all the way down to 4. You realized, because we started talking about the reds, and she's like, I just don't know if I'm gonna be able to get any of those reds out now because, you know, some kids have it worse than others. And I'm like, right. She's like, so I just don't know if I can get those reds out. Well, you've already got 75% of them out. One more is 78% to 80%. So that's topped out. That's more than you could ask for. You've done so much, right? You've gone so far with this. And she was like, wow, okay. Well, what do I do next? I'm like, continue to do what you do, but now you have a focus. Like, you know, to focus more of your attention on the middle, right? Because, you know, this middle is what's really going to move the needle. The red, you've already kind of purged and moved so many out of red into yellow that your focus needs to be on the yellow, AKA she has a price action channel there. She's got a range or a zone to work in, and she knows in this zone is where I need to keep them. I said, so you can monitor your greens to keep them up there. You push the yellows, and if you get 1 or 2 more reds, excellent. But you know your main focus area is going to be that yellow. Because if you notice that from one to the next, yellows didn't really change much, okay? Yellows didn't really change much. In fact, they haven't changed at all because what she gained in the greens, she moved in the reds. You see, they're both 21, right? So the idea is, let's get those greens up. Let's keep those greens up, but let's move the yellows out and get them up higher. That needs to be the focus. That needs to be the focus group there. And I think she's going to be able to achieve that. First time, y'all. First time I've had a real world example for Fibonacci numbers. Blew my mind a little bit, but that's a perfect example of how things can apply. And I told her, hey, get your numbers. I don't need to see student names. I don't care. They're just numbers. Give me the numbers for the English department, the reading department, and the civics department, and let me know, and I'll run those too, and I can see the growth rates there and see which ones are doing better and which ones worse, and that can give these teachers a data-centric point to work with. So it was a hell of a moment, right? It was a hell of a moment, and I'm like, man, this is what I do. Give me all the data. I'll spit it out and come up with some different answers for you. No problem. So she's going to come back and get some more, right? And we're going to move forward with that. I'm pretty excited about it. So let's see if you got any questions real quick. You're very welcome. Hey, what's up, John? Good to see you, brother. Congrats to Papa and Mama. Hey, tell Tiffany I hope she's feeling good, by the way. Let's see. Yo. What's up, Terry? Good to see Terry, bro. Kind of blows your mind, but the whole world is based on fibs. Absolutely. So people don't know this, but your DNA has a Fibonacci sequence to it, and that's all there is to it. I don't know what else to tell you. Like, if it's in your DNA, can we really sit here and argue about it, or are you just making stuff up because you don't know how to use it, right? So at a certain point, we got to call a spade, right? Let's look at some other charts real quick. We got about 5 more minutes. Ethereum, similar situation, but in a better position than Bitcoin, I think. Fair value gap is a little higher. You're still under trend, so everything it's doing here is more short-term again. Stuck under resistance, but pushing through, and the resistance is a little higher here. You have this one blob of resistance, but there's more up here, and I'll draw you a line so you can kind of see it. Right about here. More resistance there that we haven't quite gotten to yet. And because of that, I think it's maybe likely that it goes there. We'll see. One step at a time. We pull some fibs here. You'll get a play on the numbers. All right. So if we kind of pull it down. We're right at the 50 fib now. We either stall out here and roll over and die, or we push up to the golden pocket, which is right about $1,415. $1,410, $1,400 flat. Whatever. Close enough, right? There's a good marker for Ethereum. Now, from there, what's going to happen? Couple options. First, you need to know that there's pivots right here in the way, and that's what we're hitting right now, right, the 50 fib. We either hit this and roll over and fall, okay, or we rolled up here to the golden pocket, and we can try to hold this support up here. And if we can hold this support to this trend line, great. That would signal that we're done with the bears and the bulls are in charge. We don't have any evidence of that yet. We, in fact, have more evidence of down. So I lean towards this, right? I lean towards this thing playing with this trend line and then coming down here to at least 1,000. And if things get really gnarly and it sweeps those lows and goes past them, man, it can get ugly and could come all the way down here to $700-800 in that range. This is my happy range here. I'd be looking to buy if that happened. Could it go farther than that? Yes, it could. So let's keep our eyes open and our ears open and make sure we don't leap to anything crazy. If this level can't hold, I will likely resell and buy more lower and take a small loss to be able to buy a much better price. That's the way I think. I want to get the best price possible. Make the most money I can, right? I got a big goal here for the next bull run, and I'm not going to pass on it. I'm going to push myself even farther than I did last time. I'm going to take smarter chances and smarter risks. One thing I've learned, and a lot of you guys are going to have to learn this as it happens, because some of you people are in here and you're watching and you're new and you've never invested any money before, especially in crypto, right? You might have bought some Walmart stock or something, and you may have a 401k. You're going to make money that you've never seen before, money amounts that you've never seen before. And I don't care how much you say, don't get emotional. It's going to happen, right? Happened to me. I had an inordinate amount of money, and I'm going, okay. Well, you start making these moves, you don't even think about it. And me and the admins would talk about this stuff, right? We were moving amounts of money. I wasn't even thinking about it. Stupid amounts, $50, $60, $70, $80,000, just moving them around, not even thinking about it. Like, do you realize how irresponsible that is? But we had so much that was like, whatever. Right? That's going to happen to you too. Whether that's I had no money and I have $500, or I started with $100 and now I have 30 grand. You're going to go like, dude, I have stupid money here. I could pay my car off. I could put a down payment on a home. I could pay off all my student loans. Like, you start getting these thoughts in your head, right? You're going to have a hard time controlling these emotions. Do the best you can with it. We have a fairly good support group in our Discord. Discord is pretty easy to get to. 786unlimited.com right there. Very simple. Our Discord's on there. You get a free month if you use the Launch Pass link. Don't like it, you can leave after a free month and pay nothing. After that, it's $4 a week. $4 is one Starbucks. Now, I was told $4 is a ripoff, by the way. So if you're not happy with $4 and you'd rather have your Starbucks, I'm not going to be mad at you. Do your thing, bro. It's all good. All right, so let's move on here. I already talked about total market cap. Let's go hit Binance Coin here. Binance Coin's interesting because this one looks different than Bitcoin. In fact, we see this on a few different charts. This one has already broken trend, right? This one, Dogecoin, Matic, and a couple others, Quant, Morpheus Network, have this same look where they've already broken trend, right? And they're not recovering as fast as others, though. So I'm inclined to think this thing jogs, perhaps comes down here and tests this trend line somewhere down here. We'll see. Comes down here and tests this trend line and moves up from there. I don't know for sure. And honestly, 200 is going to be a tough barrier to break because it's a nice round psychological number. And that's 25, 30% down, right? That's a long way, isn't it? Right? So I would agree it's a long way. Ain't just going to sprint to that number and stop. One step at a time. Let's be careful here. I'm leery of this because this one, and like I said, in Matic, look a little different than most. So back in my head, I'm waiting for that level to happen. If it happens, great. I don't think we do this. I don't think we come down here. Could, but I don't think we do. If we do start breaching these lows right here at 178, man, that's a long, slow ride to hell. So be very careful and leery of that. You can buy Starbucks with EBT. Absolutely. Yeah, first one I was crying. I'll be crying eventually. Absolutely, bro. It'll hit you. Like a switch was hit, Heath. They crazy to explain. Absolutely, dude. Bro, that's awesome. Like I'm hearing you talk about that. I'm sitting there thinking about, like first time I held KJ and I couldn't sleep and I listened to every little noise he made and I'm all like, doctors took him away for a while, all that shit. Like I was like, where is he? What's going on? Like, it's a weird time. Like it's a weird vibe. And you immediately start to understand why dogs, what they do what they do whenever you get close to their babies, or why grizzly bears attack if you're even in the vicinity of their cubs. You immediately start to get the thoughts, right? You realize, oh, that's why they did it. So you can't be too mad about it, right? Either way, it's an amazing thing. So look, that 30 minutes went by very fast, didn't it? And it was a pretty awesome 30 minutes. We talked about Fibonacci numbers. We enjoyed the beauty of a new life. We talked about some TA. I thank every single one of you guys for being here. It's amazing to me that we're even able to do this. Be back tomorrow, 2 o'clock, live. Again, afterwards, question and answer over in the Discord, 30 minutes afterwards. If you want a private consult, they're buy one, get one free right now, which makes them about 75 bones each. You don't have to do it if you don't want, but if you feel like you need it, it's there for you whenever you want. Thank you all for being here. Sincerely, man, this is a wild ride to me. It just gets wilder every day. Thank you all. I'll leave you with this in the words of the late, great, notorious B.I.G. Could have been anywhere in the world. You chose to be here with me, and I appreciate that. Thank you all. Sky's the limit. Y'all be good. Peace.